Okay, welcome. I feel like I'm doing radio again, except I've got this whole visual element. And yeah, why not? Welcome to the Anadromous. This is Bern, and I'm hoping to be joined a bit later by Laura, that person Laura from Wisconsin. And I think we'll probably have a good discussion about music. So I've just got some random music files, plus a couple of Georgian music files to go along and play with. Just a quick update on where we are, where we left things last night, the cliffhanger. Um, Let me go up to the big board. And essentially, out of our massive $12,000 goal, we are trying to get, hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, oh, that was satisfying. I think I've sneezed up till 6 times. I often say it's the reason I don't do drugs. If you sneeze 6 times in a row, after a while, you're just like your head is just swimming. It's kind of a nice experience. But again, number two, great. Okay, that wasn't right in a row. Okay, meanwhile, back on the big board, out of our $12,000 goal, which is the overall number, and I'll break it down later. But what we're really trying to do is whittle down the $6,000 freighter cost, because that's the big one. And once we get that out of the way, the three other costs, the barge from uh, Alaska to Seattle, the train, truck, and customs here in Georgia to my door, the whole thing from the coast to my door, another 2,000, and then paying for me to travel to go there because nothing can happen if I'm not there will be good. So, oh, thank you for making sure the demons don't come back. That's why we say bless you. Um, but so where we left it was we had made about 300 and sorry 3,300 and some odd dollars, leaving us with only $2,687 to go to get to pay for the freighter, which is wonderful. So we are getting there. We're well over. Well, here's the interesting thing, and I didn't note this before. We are at the 1/4 mark because passing 300,000. 300,000. I wish that would be wonderful. Passing the 3,000 mark, that put us a quarter of the way to 12,000. So obviously, I've got to keep doing this until I get to the amount because I can't do it unless I get the 12,000. So I'm going to be doing this as long as it takes. And I've got some stuff up my sleeve. I'll probably take a couple days off here and after today, a nice huge cup of tea. If I do this, it's bigger than my head, and it kind of feels that way. But yeah, so let's see. Tom the cat. Tom, where are you from? Give me a line. And hello from Tbilisi to other people out there. Where are you from? Let me know what your location is. And yes, that was a sneeze, but it is done, and I don't have to worry about it now. Normally, that's a temperature sneeze because I'm not wearing any socks, but you can't tell, can you? Okay, well, we are going to, like I said, Laura is probably going to pop by at some point. We're going to talk about music. I do want to remind everyone, and I'll be discussing this in more depth a little later, that for anyone who, oh, Macedonia, that's very nice. Oh, we met at the Bridges of Meaning. Great, great. Now the Breakwater Festival. Okay, good to know. Macedonia. I think I remember you. Yeah, you had long hair, didn't you? I think your face is popping into my mind. Long dark hair. So Um, so for anyone who donates more than $50, uh, I- I've got hundreds of files of obscure, rare Georgian music. Really beautiful stuff. Really, some of it very energetic, some of it very spiritual. And what I'm going to do is give you a load of files. If you give me $50, I'll give you 50 files, and not anything less. This is a temptation for you to try to support the channel and support this absolutely Herculean task. I was just thinking, this is like the biggest thing I've ever attempted in my life, as far as just size of the project. Now, I've done some things. I've got like a puppet festival coming up next year, but I don't consider that to be nearly as difficult as this. I mean, I've gone through a big move before to move all this stuff in a massive container to from New York City to Haines, Alaska. That was in 1996. But now, I mean, there's just, I mean, time. I'm not getting any younger, and so there you are. Anyway, if you send in $100, if you donate, then I will give you 100 files if you want. Now, someone gave me 200 yesterday. I'll give them a pile. They'll be very happy. It'll take quite a while to actually assimilate that much music, but I think you'll get a great experience. So let's see. So before we go, let me just say, oh yeah, how to donate. Well, there are two links down below, and one is for PayPal, the usual method, and a lot of people have been doing that, and a few people have been going through GoFundMe. And that's the best option. If you really, anyone can do that, but if you really need a tax deductible receipt, that's your best option, because that's immediately considered, I'm a charity. So, yeah, let's play a little bit of music to get ourselves going. This is actually a recording I made, and I did turn this into a file, of some guys that I met at a music school, the music school of Georgi Ushikashvili, back in 2016 on my first trip here. And this is them doing one of the great songs. Is this Orovela or Sinskaro? I think it might be Sinskaro. Let's listen and find out. And while you're doing that, you can think about what you'd like to do. Okay. Okay, that was indeed a really classic old folk song from the Kaheti region, where the best wine fields are here, and that was Tsinskaro. And I'm certain that that song, probably that version, but also the version by the best version is by Hamlet Gonashvili. So let's see what's going on here. Glad to hear. So, Laura, are you coming aboard? Just go to Reckoning Motions and send me the email at Reckoning Motions, and I will send you the invite to come aboard if you have the time. So, all right. So, yeah. So Laura said, yeah, Sinskaro, absolutely amazing stuff. And here's one of the interesting things about that song. That song goes back into the midst of time. We don't know exactly when it was written, but it's possibly over 1,000 years old. And one of the interesting things about Georgian music is that I was talking with a man, Otar Bluishvili, the other day, and he said there are over 10,000 Georgian folk songs, which is incredible for a country like smaller than Switzerland, you know, with mountains taller than the Alps, and they also grow oranges here. So, a fascinating place that I live in, and that I'm trying to get a massive library of, I don't know, 12,000 pounds worth of stuff, 6,000 kilos. From there to here, like I said, this is some crazy adventure that I'm on, and that's why I'm inviting you to come along, because evidently I can't do it by myself. All the time I've spent learning things, I wasn't spending making money. And some people spend much more time making money, and other people, you know. But I have unfortunately never had a family. I've, you know, you make choices in life, and one of my choices was to go to New York City, which is a strange sort of prison in itself. And then I went to Alaska, in which, you know, there are not a lot of women per ratio in Alaska. So, okay, so I am sending Laura. Laura will be on here soon. I just sent the link. Use that link, and it's about a 3-4 minute turnaround here. But if you get Laura and I are probably we like to discuss music. So if that interests you, stick around. If it doesn't interest you, well, you don't have to stick around, but you could donate. And so there's the PayPal link and the GoFundMe link. And the GoFundMe link's been kind of quiet. It didn't get any. I got about $300 yesterday, but none of it came through the GoFundMe link, which was sad. It was being neglected, and someone with actual money needs to go there and donate something. Someone who needs a tax deductible receipt. Okay, so yeah, I have lots more music. I've got a couple more Georgian examples, but I've also got blues, gospel, a bit of Polish, a bit of Czech music, all to that I might play. I have no specific agenda of music to play, but like I said, we'll see what kind of discussion we get with Laura. There you are. So here comes Laura. Hold on a minute. Add to the stage.
Hey there.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
So,
How are you?
so it's like 9 15 or so there.
It is, yeah.
Very good. So hold on. There. Now we have close-ups.
All
Nice.
right.
So um yeah, and Laura has already contributed, so she has a clean conscience.
This is true.
Have you ever done anything like radio work where you're pledging and trying to make money? It's a weird
Well,
thing.
I've done a lot of fundraisers for church. We've
Right,
never done something on radio, but I've definitely, had the mic in hand asking people for money before.
right,
So
right.
that's always fun and a little awkward, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I worked at a radio station in Alaska for 10 years.
Hmm.
And that was a lot of once a year, sometimes more than once, depending on who the manager was and what they wanted. They would be, you would have to go through a week or so fundraiser.
Oh,
And you had to
wow.
get yourself really psyched up. Fortunately, I didn't do everything, but
Yeah.
I did talk and talk and talk, which
Hmm.
evidently I'm good at. Hold on. Hello, it's 9:15 here. Says Vibrant Goo. I
Oh, cool.
knew who that is. She already gave, but yeah. So yeah, and they're just different principles you learn. One is you have to talk about it a while. You have
Hmm.
to keep mentioning to the fact that that's what we're doing. Because
Hmm.
if you don't, people they just start saying, "Oh, I like what I'm listening to," and they don't. You need to apply a little pressure.
It's kinda like
Uh,
that same phenomenon of asking people to like the video and subscribe. You think
yeah,
it's a stupid thing, but it actually really increases numbers. Like, it has an effect on
yeah, it
your
does.
YouTube
It
channel,
does.
you know?
Yeah, it's a strange sort of thing. Um, and there are weird statistics. For instance, I pointed this out the other day. PewDiePie has, I think, 111 million followers, but he
Yeah.
only gets his average video starts off at about a million viewers.
Yeah,
Out of those million viewers, I am sure the actual number of super hardcore people is smaller than that. So,
definitely.
what are all those other people doing? Well, many of them joined up when he was going through this big push to try to beat this
Oh,
Indian.
T-Series, yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
and
I was one of those people.
oh yeah, and I had more than one channel, and I said, okay, I'll give him 3 or 4
Yeah.
because I was helping him. That was a period where I was watching him more,
Uh-huh.
and but yeah, we're strange. Like for instance, when I look at my statistics, I have something like 2,400 people right now, which
Mhm.
is pretty good. Although it's kind of gotten stalled the last 100 or so people, and
Mhm.
I think that's because the algorithms have made some sort of weird cosmic change.
Yeah. There's
And
always something strange going on. It's weird because I've been on YouTube for over 10 years now. I made my channel when I was 13. So
right,
2011. And so I've just kind of been witnessing what goes on. And I have a family member who runs a really big YouTube channel, so it's kind of interesting to get like insight from
right,
them and what goes down. And now at my job, they've decided that like my face on our YouTube channel will get us more viewers and stuff for whatever reason, the stats. So now I'm being thrown onto like our YouTube channel. And it's so funny because I have my own little mini tiny channel over here in the corner where I just throw my own personal projects
right,
on. But
right.
now I'm just on the face of this other YouTube
Well,
channel
the truth
randomly.
is there probably is some truth to that because I've noticed a lot more people with their faces on the cover,
Mm,
and so and I have been loath to do that personally because you're
yeah.
gonna look at this face and go like, yeah, we want to subscribe to this guy. He's just a boomer. So
You
uh,
never know. Sometimes, just do like a sad expression or something and then
yeah,
someone
yeah,
will click on it.
yeah. It just like my thoughts on Taylor Swift.
Oh my gosh, that would actually blow up,
It
you
probably would.
know?
And
So
I have too much integrity to do
and
stuff like
that's a great point against it, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Be who
No,
you are, yeah.
and I do notice that there are large channels that never show the face of the person involved.
True.
And so for me, one of the reasons I started the new Anadrome channel was to have a place specifically for more timely music, movies, media reviews, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Reviews and also history. So I've got speaking of Taylor Swift, I've been working on a huge, not huge, well, I'm going to do two different versions of the same thing. One will be the one I put there, which will probably be more like half hour to 45 minutes. Then I'm
Sure.
going to put the big one on the
Yeah.
anatomist with all the weird stuff. Like, for instance, I found Christians who just think she's of the devil. And they have a
Yeah.
huge conspiracy theory about that. And I'm sitting there going like, you haven't noticed people, dressed like, okay, she's dressed like Stevie Nicks. Yeah, maybe she's got some superstitious beliefs or whatever.
Yeah.
But, what it happens is it all ends up into these like Q bubbles and
Oh
and
yeah.
Illuminati theories and such like that. And at a certain point, I'm just like, okay, give me a break. But
Mhm.
it's sad to me, being a Christian, that many of these people are Christians. And I'm
Mhm.
sitting and so I do want to deal with that, but I don't want to spend too much time with that on the Anadrome channel, because it's
Sure.
just like, that's just okay. We'll deal with that over here.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Not
over
everybody's gonna want that section of the topic or what.
yeah, and I'll mention it, but I won't go nuts about it the way
Sure.
I will on our channel here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The
So
Taylor Swift thing is fascinating to me. I am just like
yeah.
stunned by it because, especially because it's so late into her career that
Hmm.
this blow up is taking place.
Oh
Like if
yeah.
it was a new person, and also if it was like a boy group, I'd feel way differently. I was telling a friend about this yesterday, but it's like a single woman in her mid 30s or so
35,
do,
1989, 35.
yeah, doing her thing, and
Right.
then her fan base is like
Be 35 on December 13th. How do I know this?
yeah, her fan base is like also all women for the most part, and
Yeah,
I'm
and there's
just
a
like,
gay
it's just
and
weird.
male contingent as well.
Sure.
And there are very few, I would say, the the only men who weren't gay and who weren't the only people who weren't young women at the concert were either parents
Mhm.
or someone who got dragged by their boyfriend or wife or whatever,
Sure, yeah, yeah.
their girlfriend stuff.
Makes
But yeah,
sense.
it is an odd thing. What struck me, and I think I mentioned this on Twitter and you reacted, was I watched the speech she gave when receiving a honorary doctorate at NYU
Yeah, I saw that.
University. And I just said to myself, okay, this woman is far more poised and intelligent sounding than pretty much any politician I can think of right now.
Yeah. She can
And
walk the walk for sure.
yeah, and I said to myself, if she ever decides to go for president, I don't think she would right away, but say, she can't do the kinds of shows she's doing now when she's 45.
That's
It would just
true.
be a lot harder. The body just can only take so much.
Yeah.
And and I think that eventually she'll have to make some sort of decisions about what she's doing.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there going, one of the things I've read in passing about her is that one of the things she keeps up with all the time is news and current events. I'm pretty sure the lens she's keeping up with it on is a very restricted lens. I mean, just given from her comments, and I'll talk about that more on the
Mhm.
actual video. But it occurred to me, yeah, this girl has ambition,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
and and if she decides to do that, I mean, she needs to download several terabytes of political information
Yeah.
to think about that. But she also has the capacity to do that.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, just given her track record with business, I mean, and what's interesting about that is her basic ideology is kind of on the woke fringe, but
Yeah.
her business sense is totally right wing.
Yeah. I mean,
I
look at
mean,
those shows.
yeah, exactly.
What was
And
she bringing in $2 billion from the tour or something?
oh
It's
yeah, yeah.
insane.
She'll also do things like, well, she fought for um, her to get her music back, so she's re-recording her music,
True. Which
and
is
her fans are loyal enough to turn all of these into bestsellers all
yeah,
over again
that's
because
true.
she figured out how to put them out. I mean, she's a genius when it comes to getting people to double dip.
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So for instance, she puts out special editions, so everything has multiple variations, and of course the hardcore Swiftie is going to buy them all.
Yeah.
They're not going to buy the one that fits them. They're going
No,
to go,
it's so true.
and this is a story I love. There was I heard this. One of her fans, I'm just sitting there saying, they say vinyl record sales have gone up. And one of the reasons is Taylor Swift, among other things.
I know.
Imagine how many young girls have gone out and bought phonograph players, turntables, because of Taylor Swift. So this is what I heard.
I know some people who have done that.
Yeah, that's how strong her influence is. So,
Crazy.
but here's the thing: if you know anything about vinyl records, you know that the best sound is achieved through a 45 RPM. 78 is a bit too fast. 33 is great, but so what she did was she included 3 records. One was the regular album on 33, and then 2 45 large discs, so you can hear super good sound. And so someone was writing in saying, I really like her new stuff, but I don't understand why she's trying to sing like a man
Oh
now.
God. There's this little. Did you know the machine you bought actually has buttons on it and switches
Yeah.
and dials?
Well, they haven't done what most people have done, is play with the buttons and see what they do, because
Yeah.
this is new technology to them.
Oh my God. So this is hilarious because I literally experienced this, like someone having that experience. I was in the room. A friend mentioned to me, I got these records and they don't sound right. And I was like, okay, well, what's going on? Let me see your record player. And we opened it up, put a record on there. And this is a big Taylor Swift fan friend. And we start playing it back. And it's like, oh, the chipmunks are here.
Right.
It's like, did you know it has this little switch that you can move? I didn't even know that existed. And I'm like,
Yeah. Well, it's like they're buying alien technology. There was back when the internet was starting to blow up and you had Napster and all of that stuff for file sharing. Someone said, we've created a system that you can't take the files off of. It's these big plastic discs, and you can hear the music great, but you can't, it prevents you from getting the file. And of course, that's a vinyl LP.
yeah.
And some people have said if that was invented after, it would be considered a security mechanism.
Yeah.
So let me just remind everyone what we're doing here. If you've just dropped in, we are indeed. I've got that person, Laura, who has
That Laura person.
Sorry,
you're all good. It's a 10-year-old name, so who even knows?
Yeah, that you gave when you were.
I was 13. So
yeah, it's a good year. That's a good age for coming up with dumb ideas that you think are really cool.
Yeah, like PewDiePie.
Yeah. So anyway, what we're doing is we're trying to raise money to get my library in a container to go 12 time zones from Alaska to here in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, in the Caucasus Mountains, not the other Georgia, but this Georgia. So, and there is a link down below for, donating. So there's either, you can go through GoFundMe, and that's especially good if you need a tax-deductible receipt, or you can go ahead and use the usual PayPal method that people donate to me on. And just a reminder, I do have tons of rare Georgian music files, and if you give $50 or more, for instance, Laura, you could upgrade to.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I went through a little traumatic event where I lost my wallet over Thanksgiving, so I'm waiting to spend any money right now. But
I will probably be doing this, considering how much I have to get still. I will probably be doing this for a while, so there's always time.
Yeah,
and so you could be low on money now, but the first comes, and suddenly you've got money again. I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking in general. So yeah. But anyway, if you give $50 or more, you'll get 50 music files if you want them. If you give $100, you could get 100 Georgian music files. And in fact, while I'm thinking of that, let me play you another short piece here. This is a group of girls singing in a choir together. I don't think we've heard a group of girls in a choir there. This might interest you. Do you want the nuns, Laura, or do you want the girls out in the field?
Oh, I'm kind of down with the field. That sounds
Okay,
cool.
okay. Here we go. So we'll be back in just a moment. Meanwhile, think about giving to the container fund. Okay, there you are. Little Georgian choral music for you. And I did extract the sound file from that one, so that would be one of the ones that would be possible for me to send. And so you the other day when we were doing this,
Mm-hmm.
you had a question or a thought. What was that? Remember?
We were talking about, you said something about amplification.
Hmm.
That really struck me because I have a huge bone to pick with things being tools that are, made to improve music or improve speaking being used improperly, and it really ties into the idea too of making an acoustic space built for whatever sort of sound is going to be produced in that space. And I had a couple of different stories I thought about in relation to this. One of them I wanted to tell, if that's all right,
Go ahead. Do
because
it.
this year I experienced such a perfect moment to tell us like where we're at in
Right.
terms of live music. So I live not too far from Madison, Wisconsin, the capital. And it's kind of nice because a lot of people who do tours, if they're going to hit Wisconsin, they either go to Milwaukee or Madison. So I went to go see this guy who I've known for 10 years. His name's Theo Katzman. He's also in the band Wolfpack, which is pretty big. And they're kind of like, it's like rock, I guess, but it's a little Americana too. It's a little folky. And he does all kinds of fun stuff. And so I went to go see his band in this theater. It's an old theater. And it was the last leg of the American tour. And so I take a couple of friends. We all go down there. Nobody knows him but me. But I'm like, hey, you guys are going to love this guy. He's awesome. He's got a group with him. And the whole show, the speakers are so loud, like bleeding ears loud. And I'm in the world of sound, so I usually bring protective little earphones to wear, but most people don't wear that. We just have to realize that like that's not a common thing for people to bring earplugs, especially if it's a theater show. It's not like a stadium.
Right.
Okay. And so we went to this show and like, I mean, they're doing great, but it's that whole thing where your ears have to adjust to how freaking loud it is. And the worst part is that his opener was a really folk singer lady where it was just her and an acoustic guitar. So the whole opener was very quiet. Main band with him comes out and it's loud as hell. And you're just like, oh my gosh. I mean, they're killing it up there. They're doing great, but my ears are bleeding. And so then we're coming to the close of the show. And right as they're going into a guitar solo on this one song, all the PAs die. So their mics go out, all the guitars go out, except the amps on the stage. So it suddenly, I mean, volume cuts like 60, 80%, a lot. And we're like, what's going on? You know? And so they finish out the song, they finish playing it, they crank the amps on the stage. It's actually a reasonable volume now for how many people are in the room. The only thing is they don't have mics for their voices. Well, what do you do when you don't have mics for your voices and you're in a theater? Sing out. So you just sing out and we could hear them. And so then he does his final song. It's Mother's Day, by the way. And he wrote a song called Nobody Loves You Like Your Mother. That's a, sort of a tribute to his mom. Really heartfelt song, great writing. There's a line in it about my first apartment, a 9-month lease. And it's just like cute. It's got good stuff. And he gets so intimate and personal and he sings quietly, but everybody shuts up so we could hear him. And it becomes this it changed the dynamic of the concert entirely. And then people are doing little harmonies. They're like whisper singing harmonies. And then the whole show ends on this sort of quiet note. And he's up there like crying because it was so beautiful how we all came together and it became this close moment. And the whole show could have been that.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we doing? We rely on these tools, which are there to aid us. They're not there to hold the whole show up, Like you should be able to do what he did and make the show so intimate that we all come together. And that's where the true like musician came, And
absolutely.
what I like about him is he's one of these guys who's anti-editing the vocals. He's like, if you're going to sing a song, you're going to have to sing it live. So get the whole vocal take in one go.
Right.
As soon as you're more than, 2 cuts, that's no longer you singing.
Right.
That's what becomes computerized. And I totally agree with him there. And then, you watch an interview with Billie Eilish or whatever, and they're like, we did 140 cuts in this one vocal line. You're like, how? How do you even do that?
Right.
So,
and how are you going to do that live? Well, what you're going to have to do live is imitate what you created on the computer. So the computer is first.
Yeah. I think that like the more we get to, and this is what's cool about all the stuff you share with Georgia, the more you can get to like that group singing and you need a leader definitely to get everybody on the same level. But the more you can push for group singing without amplification that's artificial, I mean, the better, because the feeling in those moments is so much stronger than anything you're going to get, at these big music blasting, who cares, whatever concerts.
Yeah. Well, what we don't realize is that the amplification becomes a substitute for the music.
Mm,
It takes the place of the music.
yeah.
And for instance, what you're describing is a very common phenomenon where and it's there's this thing that all the last bands have to be louder than the
Yes.
beginning bands.
Yeah, it's like the what did they call it? The volume wars or something, or the
Yeah,
when it came to
but-
streaming and digital files, it's just this push for make it louder and louder.
right. Well,
RMs go to 11.
a lot of that in recording comes from you overusing compression.
Mhm.
And so you get this, louder, everything's louder, but then you sacrifice what you experienced live there was the dynamics.
Exactly, yeah.
And so in the dynamics, I mean, if you look at older bands, they had a lot more dynamics in their music. So things
Mhm.
would go quieter and then they would build up and such. And when it went quieter, you were supposed to be quiet to go with it.
Exactly.
And yeah, but what I've noticed with the history of amplification is that and it has grown, exponentially over time.
Mhm.
So if you were to, I mean, some of the first amplification was, I think, Charlie Christian on his electric, plugged in guitar. It wasn't fully what we would call an electric guitar
Sure,
yet.
yeah.
And so he did that just so he could play with the trumpets and horns in these jazz bands.
Mhm.
Um, then you get to the 1950s and you have these very small amplification systems. So if you would be probably very surprised, I would be very surprised if we were to be dropped into an Elvis Presley concert in
Mm.
1955 or a
You just
Buddy Holly
screaming.
concert in 1957, and we would say, "Oh, this is not that loud."
Mhm.
And the volume starts to really come in during the British wave in the 1960s. And so you start to get more and more volume. You start hearing people saying things like crank it up to 10, stuff
Mhm.
like that. Prior to that, that would have been considered, what are you doing? But, and then people figured out during the 1970s how to plug the whole thing into the stadium sound system,
Yeah.
which is a whole different level.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it was Pete Townsend. I think it's in the Warner Brothers History of Rock and Roll. There's one of the segments was on the electric guitar, and he talks about when you plug an electric guitar, you have your Fender and you plug it into or your Stratocaster or whatever, you plug it into a Marshall stack in a stadium and then hit an E chord. It's like you now know what power is,
Yeah.
and it's so amplification became the show in a sense.
Mhm.
It took the place of coming to listen to music. And so what you're seeing, I was just thinking about this with Taylor Swift's huge. Now I went and actually saw the movie. I don't know if you did, but
I've held out so far, but I feel like I'm gonna be dragged.
I did it for purely sociological reasons. I knew that there would be, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, I'm in Georgia, and there are girls dancing in the aisles here. And I
Oh
said,
my goodness.
not in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in the
Yeah.
Caucasus Mountains, Georgia. How did this happen?
Yeah.
Uh, but one of the things I noticed is just watching this thing. It's all about spectacle.
Mm.
So light shows and digital projections, and the stage will glow, and you get these lights, which unfortunately for me, or rather unfortunately for her, was very reminiscent of certain lighting spectacles from Triumph of the Will,
Mm.
from the whole Hitler documentary of what the Nuremberg rallies were like.
Mm.
And even though obviously the message of Taylor Swift has nothing to do with that, nevertheless, there's something in this notion of spectacles of light and sound that creates a feeling. And obviously, one of the other things she did, and of course, one of the types of music that most revels in the sound is heavy metal.
Mm.
And one of the major forms of heavy metal is very anthemic. So you have these very loud choruses that you chant with in a stadium,
Yeah.
so AC/DC or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but that's what Taylor Swift has done. Is she isn't doing heavy metal, but she has incorporated the anthemic music. So she,
Definitely.
whether it's we will never ever get back together, and I think the ever is super important there, just musically, because it just gets you hooked just slightly more. And sometimes she does it over and over. But the point is this: when you watch them hit the chorus, and and it's essentially what they've also done is taken a page out of Nirvana's playbook.
Mm.
These smaller passages that suddenly explode, the light and the loud, the soft and the loud. And when that happens, you can see the audience just all at one bounce and start to, like, they said that there was like a 2 point something earthquake that happened during the singing of Bad Blood in some place, because everyone was bouncing at the same time.
Yeah.
And
There's energy there for sure.
well, the thing is, but it's also energy pumped up by the volume.
Mm-hmm.
So the volume is a very, very strange thing that we deal with, and we don't think about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think about it all the time because it's they do it here too. It's like,
Yeah.
and here's what I think is that the bad habits that were developed during the rock age have simply spread all over the world. Wherever, no, it's like someone in India says, we have a sound system now, turn it
Mhm.
way high. They do
Yeah.
that in Georgia. They have festivals and the sound is way too loud.
Well, it's churches too
Oh yeah.
here. And it'll be like the sound in the church is fine, but because we've got a mic on the pastor so some video stream can hear him, it's completely distorted with this talking.
Oh yeah.
It's like I don't know. I have a big bone to pick with just the improper use of these tools that are made to help you,
Right.
because like it can be done tastefully. It's true. There's a reason why recording is sticking around and why
Yeah. Yeah.
people are using mics and stuff, but it's
Right.
just like the poor use of it definitely outweighs those who know what they're doing in that field, and that's why it's
Right.
just, I don't know, it gets so frustrating for me. I was thinking too. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No,
Finish your thought.
okay, I was gonna say I was thinking about amplification. Now, kind of parallel with the Taylor Swift thing, I would call myself somewhat of a Kanye historian, and I'll just leave
Okay.
that there. And
I get
I have a running joke that it's like, okay, if Taylor Swift runs, he'll run, and it'll be 2011 VMAs all over again.
it.
But I went to one of his listening parties, quote unquote, in Chicago for the Donda album back in 2021,
Right.
where it was just the spectacle. He wasn't
Yeah.
even performing. Like they were playing back the tracks at Soldier Field. They had all these black SUVs like circling around a replica of his house, which they wanted to burn down, but the people at the stadium said you can't actually burn it down, so they lit it up with flares. And
Hmm.
then just like this chorus, this huge choir surrounding the whole house and everything. And the only people who were singing live were the choir. And I think
Right.
there's something like, I don't know, 200 people in this choir, and they all are wearing their own little mics and stuff. But
Sure.
just observing that and being in the stadium, oh my gosh, it was like a wall of sound is hitting you with
Yeah.
each note. And I had to plug my ears the whole time
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was that loud. Plugged ears, it actually sounded good. It was like, oh, I'm listening to music right
Right.
now. But
Right.
without that, it was like, I'm in a war zone and someone's dropping bombs.
Exactly.
Reminded
Exactly.
me of the scene in There Will Be Blood where the oil thing blows up and the
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
deaf.
I
Like, I
understand.
felt like that. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy.
Hold on to these thoughts. I want to, and in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you an acoustic blues musician in a moment, Mississippi Fred McDowell, or as he would call himself, I'm Mississippi Fred McDowell. and he says, I'm from Roswell, Tennessee, but it don't matter. You can call me
Mhm.
Mississippi, you can call me, but he's great. But we'll listen to him, just pure acoustic stuff. I think it's pure acoustic. It could be just a solo electric, mild electric guitar. But I just want to remind everyone what we're doing here. We are here because we're trying to raise money to send my massive 12,000 pounds, 6,000 kilo um, uh, library in a container 12 time zones away from here, literally halfway around the world, to get here because it's needed here. And I often think that there are so many things I could be doing if I had that here. I'm constantly saying, oh, if I only had that, oh, that's in Alaska. Oh, if I only had this recording I gave of this lecture, that's in Alaska. Oh, if I only had these, I recorded Imogen Heap when she came to Alaska, which was her first official performance.
Wow.
And I said, that's in Alaska. And
Oh
I
my
think she would
gosh.
be interested to see that. I want to write, I've already written about it. And I want to do something with that. But
Yeah.
um, all this stuff I've got there, it's just like if someone said, Bern, talk more about the Jesus movement. Well, I've got all these newspapers that I collected from that time. There's just so much that's sitting there, and also just so much reference material. And
Hmm.
anyone who thinks these days that you can just find anything online doesn't understand. Well, you might be able to find a lot online through paywalls,
Hmm.
you
So
know.
true.
But it used to be you could find more stuff without that, but now it's harder. So anyway, the only way I'm going to get the nice thing is I've made over three. It's like $3,300 and some odd dollars, which is I'm trying to right now just trying to get the freighter cost, which is the big cost. So I'm halfway, more than halfway to getting the $6,000 for the freighter, and a quarter of the way to my $12,000 goal. So I'm feeling I'm going to do it, but it's going to be a lot of this.
Yep. Well,
Fortunately,
that's what you got to do till you get the job done. So,
exactly. I have to annoy people, make people feel guilty, talk and talk. People say, Bern, I wish you'd shut up. Well, if the best way to do that is someone to write me a check right now for $1,000, I go, okay, that's helpful. But even those who don't, just even a gift of, I think the lowest we've had is, have we had a $10? I think so. Even a small amount is good because then I write your name up. I
mhm.
thank you. You're telling other people, yeah, contribute to Burn even if you don't have much money,
Mhm.
and all of that helps because what is $5 or $10 in today's economy? Nothing. What? Couple cups of coffee,
Yeah.
uh, and so, but every bit helps. I regret that I couldn't do this when I first got here because it would have cost only about $8,000.
Mm.
But alas, I did go through all of this fundraising about 2.5 years ago to get the money to be in the place I'm in now. That's the main thing is I had to be in a place that would actually hold the library because where I was in at the beginning was just, um, I doubted the safety of the building with that
Sure.
weight on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to play a blues piece by Mississippi Fred McDowell, and think about there are links down below towards PayPal or GoFundMe. I haven't. No one's given today yet. Someone needs to break the mold. It could be you, and feel free to do that. If you give over $50, you'll get 50 files of Georgian music, but you won't get Mississippi Fred McDowell. Glory, glory, hallelujah. When I lay good on, I'm going to live with Jesus. When I lay my burden down, I'm going to live with Jesus. When I lay every round high and high. When I lay my burden down, every round high and high. When I lay no more trouble over yonder. When I lay no more trouble Okay, a little bit of Glory, Glory, Hallelujah by
I love it.
Mississippi Fred McDonald. Now he was playing a pretty much quiet electric guitar,
Hmm.
before it had all the pedals and distortion and whammy bars and everything like that. And
Yeah.
but he was playing without any amplification as
Hmm.
far as his voice or anything. And
Hmm.
I, and I've been in a room. It was this guy Brian Bowers who played the auto harp,
Mm.
and it was in a room smaller than the room I'm in here, and they had it amplified.
How many people were in the room?
About 25, 30. And there isn't any way
Uh,
you couldn't have heard them. Now, I could understand maybe, amplifying the auto harp a little, but
sure.
not his voice. I mean, and when he talked, he had to talk through a microphone. And it's
Yeah.
because we have been, we kind of just, you fall into these things where this is how we do things. And
Hmm.
after a while, the how we do things takes over from the what we're doing
Mm.
and changes the what into a new what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it is a world of difference. I mean, even when I think about the like the huge stadium concerts like Taylor Swift and Beyonce and others are doing these days, comparing it to what I know about the stadium concerts from say the 1970s when they first started doing them
Hmm.
for the rock bands, what they would do then, and they would have a whole day of these bands. You can get to the most popular ones at night,
Mm.
but they weren't spectacles because all you were doing was you were going to see a little band of people, if you were in the back, little people jumping on the stage and stuff. They didn't
Hmm.
have all the screens. They didn't have uh, all of the other stuff. Hold on, I got someone from Argentina. Just have to write hola.
Yeah.
So
Don't cry for me.
yeah. Oh, okay. So, um, but yeah, it's so now what we have, and Taylor Swift actually plays with this
Mm.
huge screens of herself behind her. At one point, she's looking down on the little Taylor that's on the stage, which is, I think, a fascinating commentary.
Wow. That's
And
crazy. Yeah. To see a
yeah,
still image of that would be interesting, you
yeah.
know?
Well, I've got some of that I've played in. I actually, since this was such a bizarre show to go see her, and it was just like not a normal thing. So I normally would never take photos or video during a film, but there
Sure.
were girls dancing in front, and
Yeah. You're at a concert.
yeah, this is a bizarre kind of halfway spectacle.
Mm.
So yeah, but it is interesting that I think there is a level of there's a phenomena that occurred during the Taylor Swift concerts because I think it was sensorially an overload.
Mm. Definitely.
Is to say you had volume, you had lights, occasionally things would shoot out from the stage. You have Taylor on some sort of modified cherry picker going out over the audience. You have, at one point she dives into the stage and then comes up. It looks like she's swimming, but she isn't. It's some sort of digital
Wow.
spectacle. But this phenomenon has been reported many times that people develop a kind of amnesia afterwards. The
They
girls,
don't
they
remember.
can't remember. For one thing, they've spent most of the concert screaming,
Yeah.
and screaming in only the way, you know, early teenage girls can.
Yeah.
Not so much
How do you even know what
screaming, feeling.
happened?
Yeah, and you look at their faces, and you're just kind of like, and they're just like, and
Yeah.
and but it's strange because it's the overload of spectacle,
Mm.
and I think what's starting to happen now in Brazil, there were one girl in particular who died because it was a super hot day.
I heard
And
about
then the
this. Yeah.
crowd was super hot.
Yeah.
And this one girl, they wouldn't let them bring their own water in or anything like that. And so this girl died of heat exhaustion and dehydration,
Yeah. Yeah.
right near the front of the stage.
Horrible.
So, and I have the feeling that sort of thing, it's like Taylor has reached the peak of where she can go.
Yeah.
because and much more spectacle, much more size of the crowds and all of that.
Hmm.
I mean, it's nice for the record books, but and the weird thing is, I don't know if you've seen what the prices of those concert tickets are. I
Well,
mean,
so that's a huge thing with resellers too. That kind of opens up that conversation as
where
well.
she actually did something with Ticketmaster to shut that down. And so she did another thing. This is what I say, business wise, this, that may be her biggest sense of genius.
Hmm.
Uh, she shut that down and told them, you can't do this with my tickets. You
Mm.
have to, and she made them stick to a system. However, uh, even still, some of those seats were thousands of dollars.
Oh my gosh.
And the closer you got, I mean, the average ticket seat was probably $400 or $500.
Oh my gosh. I
And
just
people would say
can't
it's worth
imagine
it. And
that.
then you come there and spend hundreds of dollars on merch.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a huge
Yeah.
thing.
You want to get the special T-shirt. You make sure you get a copy of a CD or an album if you don't have it. Make sure you buy whatever is there that's labeled Taylor.
Yeah. That's the wacky thing about the merch. And I say we partly have Kanye to blame for some of that because he's the guy who went into the fashion industry and charged, $150 for a white t-shirt. But that the merch thing is interesting because you go and you think, all right, $145 for like a sweatshirt with somebody's name on it. I wonder where this is made. And it's all just cheap product, just
Yeah, yeah.
overseas. They just ship
Well,
it in.
what's funny about those T-shirts is I remember thinking, there was the $10, $15 T-shirt, then the $30 T-shirt, but now we're in the hundreds of dollars for a T-shirt,
It's crazy.
and it's
Yeah.
just cotton,
Yeah.
at most. Maybe it's cotton blend, but
This is
it's
where you always got to give a shout out to those bootleggers outside who make their own design and say, "All right, $5 for a tee." I remember going to concerts, not even, I mean, just pre-pandemic, and there's people outside with cooler looking merch than what they have inside the concert, and they're like, "All
right,
right, $10." I'm like, "Whatever, get a bootleg
right,
one."
right. Yeah, but
So,
it's strange that I think it relates to the meaning crisis, because why are you spending like I buy a lot of music, but I'm
mhm,
also very frugal. It's
mhm,
like if it exists as if I can find a cheap copy, or if I know this thing in 6 to 10 months will be like they'll be selling it at half the price or less, or
yeah,
I'll get a used copy of this, I'll wait, because but this doesn't always hold true. Occasionally there's something I do want, that full price or whatever, but essentially it's the it's we live in a weird world where people get their identity off of stuff like this. Here's
yeah.
my big takeaway from watching the film and thinking about all the stuff with Taylor. I don't know if have you ever seen the movie Woodstock?
Oh, snippets, but I never watched through the whole
Yeah,
thing.
it's a fascinating movie, and it in a sense represents, and it's presented like this. It represents the pantheon of
Mhm,
the hippie era at the end of the 60s, right before the hippies kind of like took a nosedive and into their own excesses.
mhm.
And but you've got Joe Cocker's the god of insanity, and you've got
Yeah.
Sly and the Family Stone doing this stuff where he's the god of excitement, and then Jimi Hendrix is like the god of power, and Joan Baez is the god of social awareness, the goddess of social awareness.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I thought when this Taylor Swift movie starts, she comes out and she's wearing this kind of blue, I want to say leotards, but it's actually more like the thing that baton twirlers wear.
Alright. Yeah.
Spangly thing that's kind of very short, but
Sure.
filled with spangles. But she's filmed like she's a goddess, and
Mm.
the way she just comes out and she points over to one section of the crowd, and they all go ah, and then she stops and points up to
Mhm.
the bleachers, the high rise section, and they all go
Mhm.
ah, and then she says, "You're making me feel so powerful." And I said, "She's a god." And she's a god to these people. And I'm
Yeah.
sure the Taylor that goes home and isn't anything like a god.
Mhm.
But in this environment, she is the goddess of the self. But here's the weird difference. And I was talking with someone about this the other day, and we agreed it wasn't the self like even the millennials think of it, or the way the Gen Xers think of it. It
Mhm.
was the goddess of self, and it's also all about identity.
Mm.
And here's the thing: everyone would look at there, and they're all going, Taylor, and they're becoming themselves. But who are themselves? Taylor.
Mm.
They identify so much with her, especially the hardcore Swifties.
Yeah.
And that's why they are known for being among the most toxic fans,
Hmm.
because they can't stand anyone to attack essentially themselves.
Themselves. Yeah, so true. Wow. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
That reflective
So,
nature of it all. I see that in other fan bases for sure, but the Taylor one's interesting because you would think, she's the one you could present as the most innocent, I guess,
right,
compared
right.
with these other,
We just
groups
had
and
an
whatnot.
interesting question. Michael asked, when does the phenomenon of screaming teenage girls at concerts begin? He says, I know it goes back at least as far as Elvis, perhaps Frank Sinatra. Yes, on the Frank Sinatra. It goes back actually into the 1920s, and you start getting some strong reactions to people today that nobody remembers, like Rudy Valley, who would come out with a megaphone and go, and girls, yeah, and this guy would create no reaction but laughter today. But Bing Crosby comes on
Mm.
after him and gets one. But here's the thing: do you know who the first superstar in America is? The first person who's just like commands so much fascination and attention.
I'm thinking like you're gonna go pretty far back with
Not
your
that far.
knowledge.
I'm not going to go back before the 20th century.
I don't know. Who are you gonna say?
Um, Harry Houdini.
Oh wow, yeah.
And Harry Houdini, in a sense, he was a magician, then he became an escape artist, and then he became this seance buster for spiritualists and such. So
Yeah.
he invents the rules of superstardom in America, which includes reinventing yourself every now and then.
Mm. Yeah,
And
the different eras. Shout out
exactly.
Taylor. There you go.
But Bob Dylan does that. Elvis has his different eras. The Beatles have their eras. David Bowie has his eras. All these people who are big go through these things. What I realized in my conclusion, to spoil my Taylor Swift video, who is Taylor Swift? Taylor Swift is a story. And the people who get it, you can get so involved in her story
Mhm.
that, and then you start to identify with it,
Mm.
and you start to be protective of her, and you start to say, you're not on Team Kanye anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he points out Al Jolson. Yes,
That
Jolson was huge.
I was
uh,
thinking about him when you mentioned the
Houdini
first.
comes before Jolson. Houdini starts doing stuff in the teens, where Jolson becomes huge in the 1920s.
Gotcha.
And but the difference is that Houdini did not inspire the he inspired more awe
Mm.
from audiences, because he was almost like, it was like magical. Except, of course, there's an interesting thing he said, that before he died, that someone like Taylor Swift should learn from.
Hmm.
And what he said was, he had a problem. He had to go to the doctor. And the doctor said, "Oh, could you give me an autograph for my son? He says, you're so important." And Harry Houdini goes, "I'm not that important. Everything I do is essentially a fraud.
Mm.
I'm not doing any of the things you think I'm doing." But the doctor goes, "But you've entertained millions." But Harry Houdini's own impression of himself was he was just this guy, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it got too big for his head.
Hmm.
And I think that, but I think you start getting the screaming. Another person who really brought out the screams, and this is for you, Michael. Can you guess who it was? It was a movie star. First person as a movie star to bring out insanity in people?
I'm imagining it's some young gentleman.
Rudolph Valentino.
Oh, okay.
No one remembers it to this day because he was this weird image of the svelte, a kind of dancer, slicked back hair. But when he died, the streets were just filled, and he died in the 20s, young.
Yeah. Wow.
But the streets were just filled with people going insane. And he was an early example, and he had difficulty getting around. But here's the thing: we don't remember him today at all because he wasn't much of an actor. He was just a presence, or as Gloria Swanson says in Sunset Boulevard, we had faces then. He was a face,
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rudolph Valentino, definitely a very important figure. But yeah, so what's interesting about the Taylor phenomenon, though, which is very different. For instance, I'm comparing Taylor Swift to Madonna.
Yeah, I see
and
that.
Madonna had huge crowds, but Madonna always had a cynical edge to her. So even in the Material Girl phase, she's laughing at people thinking she's a Material Girl, but she actually is.
That's the double irony thing too.
Yeah,
is what he's got going
which
on.
Taylor Swift also plays on, I think, in more brilliant ways. In her song "Blank Space," she says, you think I'm I think I'm a nightmare. You think I'm a daydream.
Yeah.
Now the song is totally ironic, but there's an aspect of truth to that. And later in her recent song "Antihero," you get the same thing, and it can be read as she's saying, "I'm the problem, it's me," as her saying, "Okay, I'm the problem, it's me."
Yeah.
But in fact, that is what she's saying. And if you look at the words of that song, they can be read ironically, or they can be read absolutely sincerely, and it's part of the mystery of it. Another question: at what point was the autograph hound born? That's really fascinating because, and I think it goes along with movie stars, because movie stars and rocks and music stars in the 20th century are the two key figures, but also baseball and sports figures.
I was thinking too, Broadway.
Yeah.
People going after a show to meet someone at the stage door. That's a huge thing too.
Right. But the difference is in a Broadway theater, and I've done this in New York, you wait till afterwards and you can possibly meet them.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Whereas the Hollywood movie stars are mystery.
Oh, yes. So much more exclusive.
Especially the early ones, they purposely hid them so that they didn't have a personal life. And you just saw them up on the screen. You didn't know that Humphrey Bogart was an alcoholic. You didn't know that, Carol Lombard was had the nastiest mouth you could possibly imagine, as far as her swore like a sailor kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know this because the Hollywood machine kept that away from you. So what you saw instead was the star. So when you saw them, it was just like you wanted a piece of them. Definitely. But I think baseball, for instance, the whole thing of signing baseballs is really important. It's a little harder to sign a football. But a baseball has this white space, and if you had a home run by Babe Ruth or something, wow, now just sign it for me. And this is a piece of history. But at a certain point, and I would put this point in the 1970s, everything became super commodified. Yeah, people were selling autographs before that, but by the time you go through the 70s, for instance, you go through the 70s, and at the beginning of the 70s, there are people who have old comics. At the end of the 70s, there are people with those same old comics who have lots of money. So, hold that thought. So, okay, so here we are. You know what? We've been doing this for an hour and 15 minutes. Oh, wait. I see a little notice here. Oh, wait, something has come through. Okay, so we've got Benjamin has decided to give 45. So you didn't want any That's really good, though. He's decided to give 45, but I think by signaling that, he's saying, yeah, I don't need the Georgian music videos, Georgian music files. But let's go through the ritual here and put them up on the wall. This will take a moment. And there we are. So I've shifted here. So Benjamin, we appreciate it. Okay. 45 American dollars. So that means, my brain is going, okay. So that means we need $2,642 to get to the goal. And we're going that's how it goes. So let me actually break this down one more time. So this is the overall goal. $12,000 is what we need to do the whole thing. The biggest expense, which is the freighter from Seattle to Poti in a container, because it's a big library, is going to cost $6,000 according to the Georgian company who will be handling it for me. So that's what we're working on right now. Then there's another $2,000 for the barge from Haines, Alaska, the port of Haines, down to Seattle to meet that freighter. And then there'll be a train that meets trains and trucks that'll meet the ship, the freighter, at the port of Poti in Georgia on the Black Sea. And to get it to my door, plus going through customs, this is the wild card here. They can charge me, $500. They can charge me $2,000. Anyway, I put $2,000 there because that's to get it to my door is going to cost that, and that was the price we agreed on. That's what it would probably cost. And then finally, I need another $2,000 to get from myself to go do this work from Tbilisi to Haines to Tbilisi, and that's air travel. And that's all. This is none of this is going into my pocket because it's all going to the actual expenses, and it might be short at that. So what we're working on now is the $6,000, the big bucks for the freighter. And we've had all these people. We just had Benjamin give $45, Nancy gave $200, Nick gave $50, Michael gave $25, Tom gave $50, Frank gave $60, someone anonymous through GoFundMe, you can go anonymous that way, gave $30, etc. And we've raised over $3,000. It's about $3,070 right now we've raised, $3,370 or more that we've raised. Maybe it's close to 400. It's getting there. But so right now we still need 2,642 US dollars and we're to get to the $6,000 goal. I figure if we get to the big one down, people will stay engaged, and I can get the rest of the money. But if I don't, then it won't happen. If I save the $6,000 to the end, I've just learned enough about fundraising. Get the big thing done first.
True.
And that's the big thing. And I'm going to play you another song. I'm going to let you choose here between, you can have a gospel song by Mahalia Jackson or a Czech song, Czech folk music, or Polish folk music.
Well, I have to say, I am sitting next to my record player. I've got 2 Mahalia Jackson records here, so we're going to have to go with her.
Are you giving me a message here? Okay. This is a really classic piece of Mahalia Jackson. Looks like the 1950s when she was at her prime. And they didn't use the word at this time, but this woman's got soul.
Oh, yeah.
This is also soul music came from gospel. So this is the real thing. Mahalia Jackson. Remember, you too can give. We got the PayPal link and GoFundMe links below. And if you give 50 or more, you could get 50 music files from Georgia. So Georgian music. Mahalia Jackson.
mountain. Give me strength to climb. Lord, don't move my stumbling block. Lead me on now. Lord, don't move mountain. Give me strength to climb. Lord, don't move my stumbling block, but lead me all around. Our cares we bring unto you. You told us, Lord, that we could. You promised to help those who help themselves, and I believe that you have mercy, Lord. Lord, don't you move the mountain. Just give me strength to climb. Lord, don't move my stumbling block. Lead me all around. The way may not be easy. You didn't say, Lord, that it would be. But when our tribulation get to light, we tend to stray from thee. Have mercy, please. Don't move the mountain. Just give me strength to climb. Lord, don't move my stumbling block, but lead your child all around.
The great Mahalia Jackson. And here's the interesting thing about Mahalia Jackson, and this holds true for people like Ella Fitzgerald and even Aretha Franklin. People like that will not get through anymore.
You think so?
Yeah, the reason is they can't be packaged. Ever since Whitney Houston, I've noticed that there are very few hefty black women. I mean, there's what's her name?
Lizzo?
Yeah, Lizzo. But even then, that's like a circus act. You know,
Yeah, it's true. It's a little
you don't,
bizarro.
and now you have to sing really well, and you have to look like $1 million.
Hmm.
And when Mahalia Jackson was performing, she's just a black woman, looks like somebody's mother, you know, and and you look at people like Ella Fitzgerald, you look at the old blues singers like Bessie Smith, you look at I mean, even Aretha Franklin just had a certain aspect to her that you couldn't sell that today. It's very
Yeah.
hard. And that's an unfortunate effect of video as well as the visualization of music.
Hmm.
You know? Now, a person like that could, find some sort of following, but
Sure.
they would never get to the level of those artists in terms of the popular imagination.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know. There's such legends though. You know, I went to this big gospel concert in Chicago this year
Right.
where they did a reunion. It was the reunion tour, is what it was called. Mostly headlined by Kirk Franklin, who's a huge name in the current gospel music world, and then a couple of
Hmm.
other people. I really went primarily to see the Clark sisters
Right. Right. Right.
because they're legendary in their own right. And
Right.
I mean, I'm just a massive fan of Twinkie Clark.
Right.
And it is true that the crowd was much older than me that was
Hmm.
there. You
Yeah.
know, it
I
was
would
like
imagine you're definitely an outlier in that.
I was one of like 3 white people I saw there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I just love
Well,
that
that's
music,
why I
you
love
know?
talking to you, is because you aren't predictable in your taste.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
people who would just simply say, "Oh, but I like this person." That someone everyone loves. I'm like, oh, well, that's not a conversation.
Yeah. Oh, someone said,
Someone just pointed out, what about Adele? Adele is a very
yeah,
interesting case,
but she changed.
and
She got
I
so
was
fit.
glad to see that a woman like that, and I would put her down as far as the teens goes, of her being the probably the most important singer from that era.
Mm,
And
yeah.
because and it's something about her voice and everything.
Mhm.
And then she went and changed herself to conform to the images because I'm
Yeah.
sure she was feeling that weight. Interestingly, she started in England, which usually has a different kind of view. America, I think we're much too crass. But the thing you couldn't deny about Adele, once you hear that voice,
Yeah.
and especially when people were first hearing her, they were like, whoa, she's got such a voice. But
True.
also, her face, as we saw after she lost a lot of weight and went through some sort of makeover, obviously she was always beautiful.
Mhm.
It wasn't like, I mean, when you look at Mahalia Jackson, you're not saying there's beauty hidden beneath there. She's just this woman with a lot of integrity, a lot of,
Yeah.
I mean, you just hear her saying, it doesn't matter what she looks like. She's got soul. She's got the depth of emotion.
Yeah, people aren't going to her for the image. You're definitely
No,
definitely correct on
no,
that one.
right. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, but there you are. Hi, Michigan, friend of Laura, fan of the channel. Okay, so a Zachary English or someone
Yeah,
who
yeah,
does.
he's a good friend of mine.
Good, good. Glad to see you. And remember, we're trying to raise money to get my massive library, which I've spent my life collecting, except for the last 5 years where I've been here. But I never stopped collecting, as you can see behind me here, because I'm always studying. I'm always working on projects. But it really needs to come here. And I've got 2 deadlines. One
Mm.
deadline is next July, my 5-year permit ends. Now,
Ooh.
I'm about 95% sure that I will get it renewed. And I've got friends here who will back me up and say, yes, Byrne has been very good for Georgia. He's done things to help us here in Georgia. And that's the main thing.
Mhm.
But there is that 5% I'm not sure of. And if for some reason it didn't come through, then what would happen is that I could stay here, but I have to go out of the country once a year to touch base, and then I get another year extended. And if they
Mm.
ever change that, and they keep talking about wanting to join the EU here, if they ever did that, then it might go down to the 3-month thing. So, but whatever it is I want to make sure my stuff is here. And one of my reasons for being in Georgia is I thought to myself, my whole collection, particularly of music, is something nobody has here.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, you can access all the stuff off YouTube, but it's a lot different than seeing the actual
So
record.
true. It's so
Uh,
cool to go to a place and physically handle the media too. And the other thing is things are being deleted left and right off of streaming
oh
platforms. Like
yeah,
I remember logging on to Spotify, there was Alvin Eiley's Revelations used to be on there. And then
right,
for a
right,
period of time it was totally gone. It was
right.
completely removed. So I had
Hmm.
to go buy the CD.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, of course, I've learned to go to YouTube and then strip the sound file
Yeah.
off.
Yep.
But but then again, that's like at best an MP3,
Yeah.
and
True.
so you're getting these lower quality things, and it's yeah, our listening habits have been totally re-altered by streaming, downloading first, then streaming,
Mhm.
and but at the same time, people are starting to realize, for instance, streaming, well, it does a lot if you're a huge star, but if you're just trying to make it in the music biz, it does almost nothing for you if you're just a low level person.
Yeah.
Whereas I have one friend, Christy Hayes, who goes around, she does country music. None of her CDs are available on Amazon. She's great. I mean, you know, she's classic, somewhere between Emmylou Harris and
Okay.
Lucinda Williams in that alternative kind of country zone.
hmm
But she has to sell her own CDs at her shows. She doesn't sell that many. And I don't know if she's on Spotify at all, but if she was, she'd be making, you know,
Yeah.
nothing from it.
Now, I have a question for you, actually. Have you ever heard of Sleepify? So,
Should I have?
no. I'll tell you what it is. So these guys, this band, Wolfpack, who's one of my favorite bands, they formed at the University of Michigan in Michigan, and they noticed there was a little bit of a loophole in Spotify back when it was probably, I don't know, 2017 or 2018, where
Mhm.
if you listen to a song for at least 30 seconds, counts as a
Right.
stream. So
Right.
they made a whole album of silence just called Sleepify. And they told their core fan base, you know, as
Right.
long as we get 1,000 people to just play this album every night throughout the whole night on repeat, when you
Mhm.
go to bed, Sleepify, you know, we'll fund the tour for free.
Right.
And so a bunch of people went and did it. They made something like, I don't know, $14,000 or $20,000, and they funded their first tour with that money. And so now, of course, Spotify's like, you can't do 30 seconds of silence on
Right.
every album. But
Right.
it's neat. Like the guys found a way to work around it. And I
Yeah.
hope that, you know, more of
Well,
that will come out.
unfortunately, something like that will be found and then exploited, and then
Yeah.
that'll be the end of it.
Exactly. But as we move more and more into this, you know, what we're constantly in at the digital age with, oh, we're going to change this and adapt this, introduce this part of the algorithm. I think more and more little loopholes and things like that will open up. It'll just be so quick moving from one to the other.
Well, exactly. And Jacques Ellul, in his third book on technology, The Technological Bluff, says that there are constantly opening cracks of freedom, but they're
Yes.
shifting. So YouTube has been a good crack of freedom for many people for a while, but I noticed between the algorithms and everyone wanting to put their face on because they're figuring out how to market things, it's that crack is closing up.
Yeah,
You
true.
know, it isn't closed yet, but you can feel the walls coming in on it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else going to provide money for my trip? Anyone else want some Georgian music files? Let me play another one here. Let's see. Although I really want to play the Eastern European music, which I really love. But I'm going to play you this. This is a group of nuns singing a song, and it's obviously a religious song, but it's really interesting the way it just keeps repeating. The sound. It's this really beautiful song sung by a group of nuns. So let's listen to that, and we'll be right back. Meanwhile, if you haven't contributed yet, feel free to. Any amount is fine, and the links are down below, PayPal or GoFundMe. Okay, well, that goes on another few minutes, but it's this beautiful circular thing that just keeps going around and around.
Mhm.
I love it. And that is one of the files I have extracted. If you want to get some of the Georgian music files for your contribution. And let's see, what have we got here? Okay. Oh, I see. So we've got Benjamin is re-upping. He just contributed, but now he's doing 40 more. Benjamin,
No.
I'm going to ask you, did you want um, that to be applied to music? Do you want Georgian music? If so, just let me know. Say, yes, I want Georgian music. I know who you are. I'll get your message. And then we just had Michael, who seems to be seriously supporting the channel, and he gave us $7. And what's funny about that is that he's already given quite a bit more. This is just a little, I don't know, a little gift. So, did you? Okay. Oh, another Benjamin. Wait a minute. Okay, that was okay. Are there two Benjamins here?
Could be.
Okay, just a minute. Let me just double check this. Okay. Oh, no, you know what? I see what's happened here. So, okay, Benjamin, you gave 40, if I am correct. And I made a mistake. So that was Michael just gave 7. I think that was, I don't know. 7 is an odd amount. But you know what? I'll take it. It doesn't matter. It's good. So let's see what's going on here. Hold on a minute.
Someone said lucky 7.
Yeah, why not? Okay, hold on. All right, so there you are. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I just shifted something in my what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm sorry. I've got just a slight technical problem that doesn't actually matter.
It is all good.
Okay, well, I'll put 7 up. I'm not proud. Does anyone want to add to that? $7. Okay, but let me put it up there while you're thinking about it. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that for the next musical break near the top of the hour, and so we'll do it that way. So meanwhile, let's see, anything else? Yes, the number of completeness. Thank you, Michael. It's God's number in the Bible. I understand. So I just got some CDs of old Jesus music today, and they were from, let's see if I can find this. Oh, here it is. This was the company that it's from. Hold on a minute. Let me switch cameras. Speaking of 7, the company is 777 Music.
There you go. A positive spin.
They gave me a sticker, but I'm not much on stickers, so I don't actually care. But it's the thought that counts, I suppose. Whatever that means. So anyway, yeah, we're getting there. It's slow. I still have to write all these people that don't know this is happening. And I haven't done this live on Facebook yet. And I haven't sent out my letters to people to let them know. I've still been doing this in a kind of stealth mode. And I'm going to try going on to my Georgian Crossroads channel at least once, and maybe onto my Gravity from Above channel, which actually has over 2,000 people on it. But unlike this channel, there's not a lot of interaction. So just how it goes. And the Anadrome is too new to have, there's no point in my going there.
Yeah.
It's only got about 100 subscribers or so, and mostly taken from the Anadromist. So, so we're going to get together in a week or two, and we're going to do just the usual Zoom conference and record another discussion about Christmas music, which I got some good feedback on.
Sweet.
And yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to find 6 Christmas songs. We'll make it the 12 songs of Christmas.
All right.
You find 6 that you want me to hear and comment on. I'll find 6 that I want you to hear and comment on, and we'll go from there. And so start thinking about that, and I will send you some YouTube links and whatnot, or files, in the next week or so. And
Sounds
we'll
good.
try to do it in the first week of December. Next week, not this week.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about what sort of songs I might pick. I don't know, because it's funny, there's a lot of songs that in my mind are so familiar that I'm like, everybody knows those. And then I'm always surprised when I speak to people who, obviously aren't from my church tradition, and they're like, I've never heard that song in my life.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
like, well, maybe I should pick some of the more, fundamental ones, because then that would open them up to people who don't know them.
Yeah, well, sometimes also, given our situation now, yeah, Zachary says make sure to pick some good Lutheran ones, which is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
But different.
He's Lutheran as well.
Yes, I was picking up on that. I have a feeling his last name is not English. It's probably Deutsch, but or Svensk. Oh, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I'm of course obsessed with older, like English folk tunes and such like that, Christmas folk songs. And I'll have to go back and rewatch some of what we did last time to make sure I don't overlap, because I'll just want to do Czech Christmas songs the whole time, something like that.
I think you threw one in there last year, a
I
specific
did.
Czech one. Yeah.
But what's fascinating to me is they have some of the best Christmas carol tunes and songs, and it's like the most atheistic European country. But
that's like so ironic. I was gonna say, you had said something, I think it was in our first discussion before we did the Christmas one, where it was so funny how sometimes some of the churches with like the worst theology will have some of the best music. It was something like that, because I'm like, I have this obsession obviously with gospel music, and like I really don't agree with a lot of what those churches put out in terms of what they believe and stuff, but man, those songs just hit.
Do you know the song "'Tis the Gift to Be Simple"?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, well, that's a Shaker song. If you know anything about what Shakers believe, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Gosh. Yeah. Wow.
But nevertheless, it's a great hymn.
Yeah.
So who knows? Things are good, but we can go all over the place with Christmas tunes. The one thing I don't want to do is play the really ironic ones, because they do that naturally for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the most shame things, I guess, about America. America has all these weird like religious cults that kind of show up randomly in the mid 1800s, and you're like, oh, let's look into the history of this. That's very strange.
Religions are us.
Yeah. So I obviously there's the Mormons out there in Utah and stuff, and I'm like, man, it is such a shame that the Mormon Tabernacle Choir has one of the best Christmas LPs you can like buy out there, with all these great old hymns that are not from their tradition, and then meanwhile what they believe is just like completely out there in terms of like, comparison to what they're singing about. It's like such a shame. I own a whole like compilation album of them doing a bunch of hymns, and then there's a special Christmas one, and it's like they open it with it starts with an A. I know it. It's I can't even think of it now, but it's a great soloist, and she opens the whole thing, and I'm like, this is so, I feel so ashamed that they have this amazing recording. Meanwhile, what are we putting out? I guess it's always the comparison with like, how do we strengthen this?
There's an interesting collection to be made as one goes through the used LP bins across America of weird albums that just individual churches have put out of their choirs.
Yes.
And I have maybe about, 10 different ones in my collection. And some of them are just, it's just like, guys, why? Your choir isn't that good. Other times you find some really amazing things on there. And, I have some of my favorite ones are weird bell choir albums and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But actually, I think what I'll do while I'm writing the number 7 on the wall is I'm going to play a Polish Christmas piece. I may have played this last year on our show. I'm pretty sure I did. Either this one or one that was very similar. But this is by the uh, I can't remember the brother's name, and it's kind of blocked out here. But anyway, it's great. This is called uh, it's music from the Tatra Mountains, and I want to give this precise name of it. I know it, but it's escaping me at the moment. But anyway, this is a great choir. This is a great Christmas song. I wish everyone's Christmas music was this great. And since we have officially crossed the zone into thinking about that, let's listen to that while I get ready to deal with the numbers again. And we'll be back in a moment.
Uwaga, no to lecimy, uwaga. 2, 3, 4, Jarek. Polo pieśni, kochani, Fundacja Braci Golec. Siądźcie tutaj teraz z nami. I się Chrystus rodzi.
Okay, so there's the current statistics. Thanks to Michael. That actually, I wouldn't say rounds it out, but at least gets us back to a 5 rather than a 2. And we now only need $2,635 to get the $6,000 freighter bill paid. So that's what we're doing here, trying to raise money to go to get my massive but fascinating library from Haines, Alaska. Look that up on the map. To down the coast to Seattle, 12 time zones by ocean to the Black Sea and the
Mhm.
town of Poti. And then it will come by train and truck to my door, passing through the rather irregular customs, which, like I say, is the wild card here. So, but that's really good. So, I mean, we haven't made much money today, but we're having a good conversation, and that's important. I may extract some of the musical bits here and put
Sure.
it up because we have said some interesting things
Mhm.
in the midst of begging.
Please, everyone out there.
No, you don't want to ever beat people down. I
Mhm.
was watching someone the other day who was trying to get money for her Twitch stream, and
Oh, okay.
she was saying things like you can afford a cup of coffee. Why can't you just you're hypocrites. You have time to do this. Why and it was just
Yeah.
you can't do that to people. You know you,
Yeah.
everyone has their reason for doing things, what they do. And I'm in no position to say anything because how often have I listened to someone say, yeah, I'd like to, but yeah, whatever.
Mhm.
And so that's all of us. Let's see.
Yep.
So, yes,
Oh,
Swan.
the Swan Silvertones. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great group.
I've got lots of them, but we're not playing them today because I think we'll wrap this up near the top of the hour here.
Sounds
And
good.
so, any last minute questions, Michael? When does commercial Christmas music start to be made? I mean, you could argue it's before World War II because commercialized music, as we've come to know it, doesn't start until around the 1870s. Well, actually, it goes back into the minstrel tradition in about the 1830s.
Mhm.
In the Christian world, it doesn't come in until the 1870s, which is interesting because that's after the Civil War, and I think people were trying to recover from it. And then they start doing these big evangelistic meetings, and
Mhm.
that's when you start to get the music. Then one of the ways you can tell it's commercial is at that time the commercial mode was a bit like a carnival. So, for instance, if you listen to a song like "In the Garden," he walks with me and he talks with me.
He
Almost everything.
tells me I am his
Yeah,
own.
but
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you just now imagine it being played on a Circus Calliope,
I
and it's
know.
perfect.
Man, you make a
And
good point there.
yeah, so that's where it starts. Now, a song like Jingle Bells is already very commercial. Anything about Santa Claus is a commercial Christmas song.
Mhm.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is the 1950s, but these other songs have existed before that.
Mhm.
So you get these songs, and there's a big difference between, say, a Jingle Bells and, say, Deck the Halls,
Hmm.
which is a secular Christmas song, doesn't mention God or anything like that. And Jingle Bells, but Jingle Bells gets into the whole Santa Claus mythology. And it does so in such a way, you can tell it's got this very simplistic, it doesn't have the depth of music going along with it. So, Deck the Halls, you can imagine a group of people sitting around singing this, but Jingle Bells already feels like it's something. And I haven't looked up. I should do that when Jingle Bells was written, but it feels like the late 8th and 19th century.
I'm trying
And
to think of how does Santa Claus come into it? Is it just like a soft reference to him?
no, Jingle Bells, Jingle Bells, Jingle all the way. Oh, I found this one.
They say dashing through the snow in a
Yeah,
horse open
it's just kind
sleigh.
of secular thing. I don't think, but it's the idea of being in a sleigh,
Yeah, true.
and so most people equate that these days with Santa Claus. But
Mhm.
I think just the general tone of it
Sure.
is kind of a commercialized thing. It's this feel good song,
Definitely.
and from the early 19th century to before, you don't find songs like that.
Mm.
So many people have pointed out that "What a Friend We Have in Jesus" is kind of a tipping song that can be considered part of the older style or part of the newer style of hymns.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jingle Bells, 1850s. That makes sense. Um, yeah, because you start to get the first really commercial music with minstrel music, and I spent a lot of time talking about that on my most taboo music in America video.
I have a
Because
question with it though.
it's the imitation of emotion is what it is.
hmm
So
What would you say about those rhymes though that are songs like London Bridge is falling down or
oh
like
well,
what period of time are
children's songs.
those?
Those are children's songs.
Okay.
It's a
So
whole different species of thing.
you wouldn't
So
consider something
a
like
ring around the rosy ash, pocket full of posy ashes, ashes, we all fall down. That kind
yeah,
of thing. It's a children's song. Children's songs are a very different kind of thing. They are often there to make up it's something to do while you're counting or playing jacks or skipping rope or something
sure,
like
yeah.
that. So it's
It's a
not,
child's shanty.
yeah. And children's music is a very different category.
Mm,
But Jingle Bells is definitely composed.
yeah.
It's certainly not something organic that just grew out of the soil somewhere.
Yeah, true.
But that's certainly an early species of commercial Christmas music. It's not as bad as Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. you
So
know,
fun though, you know?
yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Is what I noticed is that Christmas went. Well, we can talk about this when we do our
Sure.
talk. But Christmas went from being this very sacred time of year to, but it always also had the other part of it, which was the celebration part of the year too.
Sure.
But what changed is at a certain point it became the commercial music time of the year. So
Mhm.
in Georgia, for instance, they've already started playing the commercial Christmas music,
Yeah, same here.
and it will go on until February because
Oh my
their
gosh.
their New Year's is on January 14th, and they just
Wow.
don't know when to stop it. Hold on.
Ugh.
What was
Bless you.
that? Okay, well, we're going to get out of here, and thanks for being with us. We will be back doing our Christmas 12 songs of Christmas thing later in December. So look for that. Thank you, Laura, for joining
Of
us.
course.
And if you want to contribute, PayPal or GoFundMe down below. Check the
All
link.
right. Have a good one,
Okay.
Vern.
See ya. See you all. Thanks for coming.